Hey everyone, you're here with Mike Kern of Talent Financial. Today I'm going to do an in-depth walkthrough of the Talent Financial budgeting tool. And we created this tool to give you an in-depth view of your finances so that you can accurately track your monthly and yearly income and expenses and give you a way to budget and compare against your budget. So let's dive in. You'll notice the first time you open this budget, there's a security warning, macros have been disabled. So this is a macro enabled workbook, and what that means is there's programming code within this workbook that allows it to function the way it does. So these buttons are all have code underneath it that allow it to do the things that it does. So you'll need to enable content. You'll need to click this button in order for the budget to work correctly. So let's go ahead and do that. This Talent Financial tab is the homepage of the budget. So you'll notice there's several buttons down here, and I'll touch on those in a little bit. But this button is the one you need to worry about right now. It's the Click to Create Budget button, and we'll click that to initialize our budget. So it says, what month and year would you like to begin tracking your budget? You can select any month and any year. Go back to 2017. So if you want to go back to January, you can do that. If you want to go back a couple months, you can do that. But for now, we'll start September 2018. Click OK. This next pop-up is asking you to select or enter your accounts below. So any bank or credit card accounts that you have that you want reflected in this budget, you'll enter. There's a handful of banks on the left-hand side, but yours may not be on here, so you may need to enter it in the other categories. So we'll do Wells Fargo and Citibank, and we'll add another Wells Fargo savings account up here, and I'll just distinguish it with a dash savings. You'll notice a handful of tabs will populate at the bottom. The green tabs are where all the budgeting and analysis happens. The dark gray tabs are your accounts that you just specified and added. And then the light gray notes tab is where you can customize or do whatever you want. You can add goals or do some scratch calculations. It's your canvas to do whatever you want on. The monthly summary tab is where you track your income and expenses, and you'll notice that there are some income categories preloaded in here and expense categories. These are just default. You can completely customize them with these buttons, the add delete income or expense category buttons, and then the rename category. And then so we'll add a couple months here. We'll go to the end of the year. You can just use this button to add or delete months. So let's go to December. And it's really easy. Let's say I added January by accident. See January, I'll delete it, and it's really quick. So it's pretty easy to customize it to add months. And let's say I wanted to add another income. I'll add salary number 2, or add another salary. So you can see how that works. And actually, let's delete that just so I can show you. So that's how that works. It's pretty quick. It will automatically arrange it alphabetically. So if it started with an A, it would be at the top. Same thing for the expenses. It's the exact same form. And then rename is you just select food, and we can do eating out. And it'll change that down there and also alphabetize it. This button is to add or edit budget amounts for the income or category expenses. So let's say for eating out, we want to do $500 a month, and I want this to be this checkbox is asking if you want it to be $500 for every month. For our purpose, we do, so we'll leave it checked. And let's say in November we actually want to add for Thanksgiving or whatsoever, we want to add we want to make it $700. So it's just going to be for Thanksgiving, so we'll uncheck this to just be for November. So add budget amount. And you'll notice that it changes here, but it leaves all the other ones 500. So that's a really cool feature. I'm not going to go through and add all of these, all the budget amounts to all income and expense categories. You can do that. But that's basically the monthly tab. Once it's loaded with some data, I'll show you guys what that looks like. The yearly summary tab, very similar, has all the same buttons except the edit budget button. You can only edit or add or edit your budget on the monthly summary tab. So you'll notice that we have $2,200 of eating out budget dollars in 2018. So in the 2018 months we have in the budget, and that's summing up right here. So if you want to change your budget for the year, you'll do that by month in the monthly summary tab. So not much more to talk about there. One quick thing is you'll notice how this was food before, but I renamed it to eating out. If I change it back to food here, it updates here, but it also updates here. So either tab, if you make any category changes, it will update in monthly or yearly summary tab. The dashboard tab is has a couple charts, has several charts on here, so it provides some pretty cool visualization for your data. Monthly net income, yearly net income, and you'll see the months that are in the budget are already in here, and the year. So if I added another year, it'll show up right here. So 2018, 2019. One thing to note is it only lets 13 periods show up in the chart. So if you had 13 months, 13 months would show up. But if you had 14, the last one would get cut off. The reason is, if say you had 40 months in the budget, or 40 years, or however long you use this thing, you would not want to show 40 months in there because it would just be overwhelming and not useful. It would be too large. So that's why we cut it off at 13. And then down here we have the income breakout and the expense breakout. Pie charts. So this will show you either by month or by year. You can change it using this button. A breakout of your income categories and your expense categories, and it's pretty helpful. I'll jump back to this tab once we have some data to show you what it looks like. The net worth tab, one of my favorite tabs in the budget. So in the world of personal finance, the net worth calculation is super important. You can't really read a personal finance book without coming across the word net worth. So what it is you take your assets, the things you own, like your car, your home, less your liabilities, which are things you owe. So any debt you have, a mortgage, a student loan, and then you get your net worth. So obviously a higher net worth number is better. A lower net worth number is worse. And it's a really good tool just for measuring how well you're doing. For those CPAs out there, the monthly and yearly summary tabs are the income statement, and the net worth is the balance sheet. So these buttons are function similarly to these two, the monthly and yearly tabs. The add amount, same thing, functions very similarly. You can add, let's say, my car has a fair market value of $10,000. I'll add that here, and then I also have a car loan on it for $5,000. So one thing to note is for liabilities, you have to enter those in as negative for this to calculate correctly. Now let's hop to the account tabs, and this is where all your transaction data will go in. So you can either import those transactions or manually enter. You can choose. I prefer to import because it just saves a lot of time. So let's take a look at that. The first step is to set up your account, so we'll do that. Once you click this button, import or manually enter transactions pop-up will come up, and basically what it's saying is if you want to import, select yes. If you want to manually enter transactions, select no. So we want to import, we'll select yes. We'll get this pop-up after we select yes, and it will say click OK, and then open your bank or credit card account export file to continue. So we'll do that. What you have to do in order to import your transactions is to go online to your bank account or credit card account, and you'll download a date range of transactions. So I've already done that here, and my date range was from September to about November, the beginning of November. So this is the transactions that we pulled in our test file, and you can see how it's laid out. Every single bank has different export files, so they all look different. The columns might not be in the same column. There might be an amount instead of a debit and credit columns. So let's look. We'll click this again. We'll select yes because we want to import, And this is the reason why you had to open your export file first, is because you need to tell the budget where the rows are, where the columns are, so that it can import correctly. So let's walk through this. The account type, it's a credit card account for Citibank. What row contains the first transaction? The first transaction is in row 2. So it says not including headers. So row 1 is headers. Row 2 is where it starts. So we'll do row 2. What column contains the dates? That's in column B. The amounts or debits. Since there's no amounts here, there's debits. So we'll put that in D. And then the credits. That's in column E. So one thing to note is not every transaction file has debits and credits. Some just have one column with the amounts. So if there's no credits, you'll just leave this blank like this. But since this one it has credits, we'll put it in column E. And then the description amount is in column C. So we'll import. I'll show you what it looks like. You'll notice that all of the columns are put in the correct spot, and then this category column is added, and this is where you will categorize all your transactions based off the categories the income categories and the expense categories that you selected in the month and yearly summary tab. So let's import. We'll click this button again. We'll select our export file that we got from our bank account, the CSV file, and we'll click open. Then it will import all of your transactions, and you'll notice this pop-up that says 176 transactions imported, 0 duplicate transactions not imported. So occasionally you might overlap date ranges, and there might be some duplicate transactions in the budget already that you're trying to import. So this budget will pick out any duplicate transactions and not import it. And it'll also tell you, which is a really cool feature. So click OK. Everything populates from your export file. Everything's in there. What you'll have to do is go through and code each transaction to your correct category. So one thing to note, a credit card payment, this is a cash transaction. It is not an income or expense transaction. So we'll code that to these 4 lines. You can either leave it blank or code it to the 4 lines. I just like to see that it's already been coded, so I'll put it to these 4 lines because we don't want it to show up in either of these tabs because it's a cash transaction and doesn't affect income or expenses. So we'll go through and code food for McDonald's, food for Burger King, gym membership after the McDonald's and Burger King, I guess, is miscellaneous. IJM contribution is giving, and I won't code all of them. You get the picture. But my favorite button in this entire budget is the categorize similar transactions button. And what that does is it picks out any similar transactions that have already been coded and finds the same transaction. So for McDonald's, it will see McDonald's down here, and it'll code it to food because that's what this one has been coded to. So let's try it out. Boom. It's like magic. So you'll notice McDonald's, Burger King, gym membership, IJM contribution have all been coded to the category I already pre-specified. Very cool feature. So that kind of wraps up this tab. I'll quickly import our Wells Fargo transactions. I need to open the file first. So you'll see how this one looks different. There's no debits and credits in this one. There's just an amounts tab, and the columns are all in different columns. So let's open this up. We want to import. It is a bank account. The first row is row 1. The dates are in A. The amounts are in B, and the descriptions are in E. So notice there's no credit, so I'm leaving this blank. Import. Then we'll go to our downloads file. We'll select the Wells Fargo test import, and we'll import. 56 transactions imported, 0 duplicate transactions. Click OK, and we'll code a couple here. We got the credit card payment. We got McDonald's again. This person loves McDonald's. Food. We'll do the categorize, so it picks up all the McDonald's, and then paycheck. We'll get some income in there. Salary, and categorize again. So now that there's some data in there, this is starting to come together. Granted, it's not completely full because we haven't, coded everything, but this is what it will look like. let's add a salary budget just so I can show you guys something. So you'll notice that there's these cool data bars that show you an awesome visualization comparing your actual income and expenses to your budgeted. So right now it looks like we've earned $6,000 of salary, but we budgeted for 7,000. So it's not 100%, but it's almost there. Let's change the food budget to 1,500, and you'll notice these change from green to red. Because this is not over the food budget, but it's really close. So if it was over, it would turn red. Right here, it's not even 50% of the food budget, so it's showing a little less than 50% in this data bar. And this one's way under, so it's way under the data bar. And as you can tell, that this is going to be a super helpful tool as you fill out your budget every month. You can easily spot trends. Like if you're always over on your food budget, you may need to reevaluate your budget. And simultaneously, if you're always super under, like here, then you may need to reevaluate your food budget to make it more realistic. The same thing happens on the yearly summary tab. Very cool feature and super helpful. The dashboard tab now has some data in there. You see we had a large gain in October and a loss in November, and if you hover over it, it shows the exact value. And then 2018 net income, it shows that the total. We can change this. There's no income or expenses in December yet, so we'll change it to a month there is, and you'll see it pops up. It says food. There's 69% of our expenses are food. If you want to do the whole year, you can do that here. It doesn't look much different, but it's a very helpful tool, this tab. And then the net worth tab. One thing you'll notice that changed is this asset and liability is now populated in there. It's just our accounts. So we have our credit card account, which is a liability, and our asset, which is our bank account, which is an asset. And it's already populated with all the transactional data in there. So it's summing up all of the transactions we have in there. Let's say my balance online on my bank account is actually around $10,000. So this isn't correct. The reason it wouldn't be correct is because I got lazy, and let's say I started my account in August, but I only wanted to import transactions from September and on. So what I would do is I would enter the beginning balance as of September. So let's say that was $2,000. Then I would go to my net worth tab, and I would notice that this updated, and hopefully this would equal my bank statement or my online balance, and that's a good check, is checking those things. So you can do the same thing with Citibank. Let's say I had a negative $200 balance that I haven't paid off yet in the start of September, and that would update here. So that's a really cool feature. If you want it to delete a bank or a liability, you can't do that here. You'll notice it doesn't show up. So you would have to go to the Talent Financial tab, and this is where these buttons come in. And this is where you can edit your accounts. So edit these tabs. You can delete it. You can rename it. Let's rename Wells Fargo to checking, and you'll notice it changes here, and it also, the Citibank is gone, and this renamed itself. So that's a great feature, really customizable, and you can use that to completely edit or rename, or if you decide halfway through that you wanted to say something different or you want to add an account, you can do that. One thing to note is these won't show up here. If let's say I add another account, I'll add a Bank of America account, it will not show up in assets or liabilities until I set up my budget or my account. So I'll need to go through this process in order for it to show up here. So that pretty much wraps up our Talent Financial budgeting tool. We think that this tool provides a ton of value and gives you a ton of clarity in your month-to-month, year-to-year finances, and can really help you out tracking and just seeing how much you're spending each month to get a handle on it. So if you haven't, try our 7-day free trial on our website, and if you've already done that and you like the budget, then you can go on our website and purchase it. We really think that the path to financial freedom is simple, but it's not easy, and that path starts with a budget. So if you guys don't have your own budget already, we really recommend testing this one out and trying it out, and hopefully that this video was valuable to you. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.